Manhood, brought to you in part by Reboot Sports Drink.
Thank you for joining us for another conversation of manhood, where we aim to be better as brothers. Today's topic, a very big one, as they always are, man up. And what does that mean to you? What does that mean to us? And that's what we're about to have a real discussion on today. So before I go into what the description I found is about, let me just introduce the panel that we have today or the group of brothers to talk about it. To my right, the one and only Johanse IODK, behavior change consultant, looking a bit different today, almost like Benjamin Button. He seemed to have reversed, his age, and I hope one day he will give us his secret. I don't know if he's drinking some of the reboot that we have here, but certainly looking younger. Always a pleasure to have you. Aaron Duncan, many of you, if not all of you, know who he is, an entertainer. And also congratulations fulfilling a dream that he's had, and a tick on his bucket list to make the finals of the Marsh Grass. So kudos to you, brother. And of course, JW Jason Williams, media personality. Really needs no introduction. So thank you, gents. Yes. A real big one. When they say man up. But if you permit me just to read what we have here. Yes, I need the glasses. So, man up may seem like a harmless way to tell a man to step up to his responsibilities, to be strong or to show less emotion. But the phrase itself implies that doing any of these things is gender specific. More, it implies that one can be more or less of a man based on behavior. It's a phrase that has long outlived its usefulness, assuming it was ever useful at all. So before we go into it, I just want to clarify that in no way are we saying that this phrase is appropriate. We're not saying that we condone it. We're not saying that we believe in it. We're just talking about where this comes from. It's almost like, when people come up with mansplaining or toxic masculinity. Man up is a long-spoken, a long-used phrase that now you're finding that has, people are recognizing has very negative connotations to it. And where does this come from, and how do we feel about it?
Who recognized that as negative? Like, where that come from? Because I don't really see any harm in man up. I find we living in a time in here where he's almost afraid to speak a mind. You're the man up.
So you're the man up.
You're the man up. Yo, like, let me tell you something. I remember first time. Now I didn't grow up with that male influence in the household. So hearing men speak hard and cursing and stuff would be something experienced like on the football pitch. But the first time it came my direction from an employer of mine, my very first job. I did something wrong and the man really light me up. I was young, probably 17, 18. Could have probably been younger. It was a summer job. And I remember I cry, I cry. Yeah. But after that though, when he came with his harsh words, I never break down again because I was able to kind of find that strength to kind of deal with it now. It didn't happen often, but I remember the first time I was taken, I was in a shambles, to be quite honest. And I had to, as the topic says today, to man up, to deal with that, because the world is not going to be no bed of roses and no botanical gardens, holding hands, running in slow motion and out. You're dread, especially when you travel and go overseas, that Caribbean warmth and that, all of us are traveling, man. That warmth and that rhythm that we have here, you don't get that chance outside there in the big world, So to me, manning up, honestly, Robbie, I don't really see a particular issue with it per se, but it was an interesting perspective though. I never thought about it from that angle.
So as you said about you didn't think of it, I always say, and what I love particular about this show, and I always say it at the end, is that I start off one way, and I start with one thinking or one thought, and by the end of it, I'm always appreciative of the persons that come on manhood, because I always change or have more insight at the end, and from the first few minutes of the show, you've changed my insight, because one of the further readings in that whole discussion was talking about, are we perpetuating misogyny? And the reference was also made to the P word, as in the female genitalia. When we say, oh, you're being a P, which is a sign of weakness. And women were thinking that, listen, how could it be a sign of weakness where women, actually push babies out, they give birth. And I'm in agreement with that. But I never thought of it as someone, it's not a phrase that we use with women. It's a phrase that we use primarily with young men. So when we say man up, I could see where you're coming from, that it shouldn't be negative, because what you're saying is, grow up.
I think
But you can't say grow up, because everybody grows up, but man up is a totally different thing.
it's like a showing a strength
Yeah,
almost.
it's a showing a strength. Everybody grows up. Everybody has to get. I was going to say, well, maybe the word is to be more mature, but it's really man up, because men tend to be emotionally stronger than women. In the vast truth of it, we tend to not understand, but take more emotionally. Some things that some females may get hurt about, we take that normal. And
at
that
least we're supposed to take.
supposed to take it normal.
But they say men are more logical.
And it is needed.
thinking.
And it is needed, It's not something that we just doing wrong or right. It is needed in a household to have a leader and somebody
a
to...
man. Because
Yeah, a man.
Even from the last conversation we had when we were talking about what it is to be cool, and one perspective was, as a man, we're supposed to be able to keep our cool in situations. And I'm not saying that we need to suppress our emotions, because we're still human.
Yeah.
We still feel certain things. But learning to manage it in the best way possible is I think, our role. Not that we always accomplish it, because we're not perfect. But I tell myself sometimes, man up, when I realize I'm not being a man. And I mean, we could always try to define what a man is and etc. And I think being a man, if we go in personal first, being a man in certain situations is personal to you, because my family situation is not yours, and etc. and etc. But being that rock, being that voice of reason, being the person who could protect, provide, shield your family and even yourself, because sometimes you need, in being a success, we need to shield ourselves. We need to be that man for ourselves in whatever situation.
We find ourselves in a time where women actually manning up, where men drop the ball, where men abdicate responsibility, where we do show that strength, because really and truly our natural role, look at the sense of it, is to provide, is to protect. If 3 o'clock in the morning, you and the woman lie down on her bed and there's a noise outside, I doubt she will feel good to know your touch. That if we talk inequality and these different times that we in, I should be able to say, baby girl, go check and see pull the tree line and check and see what's going on there. But she would be like, Mom, you're a man up.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This is your function to go and see what happening outside by the window.
And I think as any man, it go feel funny now.
Yeah.
If you understand what I say, you just saying that time, you feeling funny to think, well, baby,
baby.
go and check. From the
Gwendolyn,
time you hear this
Gloria.
song, whether it is you alone
Yeah.
with a woman, even if you would, if you have a line and a noise happen, all the men turn around one time.
Yeah.
Even if it's men linemen, what is that? If you understand what I'm saying. And we always have these arguments about what a man is, what a woman is. It have plenty of these things that is feel innate,
Look at the war that's going on right now in the Middle East. Very unfortunate circumstance. What's the common thread you hear with the reports? Injured women and children. You hear women and children. You don't talk about the man,
Yeah.
It's almost understood that men are casualty of war. Men are the ones that perpetrate war, that involved in war. So when you hear a woman and a child get injured now, it's like the news will say woman. You don't hear much of men get injured,
Because we're supposed to be protecting the women and children.
Yeah.
And we've heard.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's not coming off the tongue today. In our innate duty to hunt, to protect. That's why you mentioned the women and children. So it's like when you hear the Titanic, for example. When women and children first.
Women. And funny enough, that's not even maritime. Well, from what somebody told me, I could be wrong, but somebody said that is not really a written rule. It's just something that understood that if there is danger, if there's danger ahead, you say, let's protect the women and children.
Course.
So that in itself is man enough, because
let a man run out first, no?
they will say he didn't man up.
So it's a spirit. So it's a spiritual thing then. if it's not something that is a rule and it just written, where that come from, how we just grow with that.
That is us manning up with our understanding that you protect the woman and the children. Not saying that they are vulnerable, not saying they're weak, but it's just sometimes in that, as you rightfully said, you hear a noise, there's a disaster. Most times the men are the ones to go to the danger, step in the front line. But you're seeing more and more women doing that now too.
Yeah.
In that's the reality of the moment.
So we have a flip here again, because again I started off thinking to myself, okay, well I came into the show today thinking there was a negative connotation to and a correlation to it. You changed my thought temporarily, or you gave me perspective with your opening salvo. But now we're going back to when a woman tells a man to man up, or to a boy to man up, it's not in a positive way. So when you say, hey, man up, it means that you have not done something, or you're not exhibiting something that is perceived or deemed to be a man. How do then, and that's what I want to have more of a conversation on, how do we feel then as men about that?
It depends on context. Because if your wife, your partner, your sister, your mother, if they coming from a sincere place and they see gaps, they could use the term man up. Or it can be used in a facetious way or malicious way if a woman trying to make you do something, because it's almost like a manipulation.
Yes.
She wants certain things from you. And to shame you, use the word man up.
Correct.
Right?
Which is what I really
context
wanted to dig deep into. That side of it.
Right. And you're asking how to deal with it. Now, this is a easier said than done answer. Right? Because since we started this series, I realized every man have to be able to define himself. Because if you allow somebody else to define you as a man, then you have problems, because it will switch to the anybody could say anything.
Yeah.
So if you solid, or at least close to solid in understanding what it is to be a man, when somebody say man up, if they're being malicious or facetious, you able to stand on it. So let's give an example. The woman say, I want $1,000 every day because you should just be grateful for me to be around. I'm just giving you an example. And you say in your mind, say, no, that is madness. And she say, well, man up. Now, if you're not sure of yourself, you could think, wait, boy, maybe I should really be giving her this money every day. Maybe I should really be doing something. But if you're sure of yourself, you know, all right, why giving this money? Maybe I'm not making any money yet. Maybe why was the reason why? If you understand what I'm saying. So we as men, firstly, should know how to define ourselves outside of our woman, outside of our job, outside of anything. And so when somebody says it, when it hits you, you know, okay, well, you could compare what they're saying as man up and compare who
What
you
you
think,
know.
what you know you are as a man, and then realize if there's a gap.
But even with that self-assuredness and very clear belief that you have, because, you know, I always say, you know, if you believe, you dream, and if you dream, you can do. And if you believe certain things about yourself and you believe what's the right thing, but the other part of it, and you're dreaming, but the actuality of it isn't happening, you yourself could start to have doubt. So somebody coming and sort of reassuring or re-emphasizing that, which is a weakness in yourself in terms of what you want to be or what you think a man should be. You understand? Because you could know what a man should be, but are you meeting that? So a woman comes and says, or even not the woman, her friends, if she's driving an old car, well, man up and get the woman a good car now, or man up and take care of your woman. You know, you have her working hard, and you might be really working a 6 to 6 job, doing all that you can, but the perception, and even though you're confident to say, I'm earning an honest dollar, which a lot of people do, right? How much more can you do? And if the woman is starting to feel that way, and her friends, my thing is, you, as much as you can be comfortable with the fact that you're doing all that you can do, you still probably feel less of a man, and she may eventually leave you for somebody who is more man up, manning more up than you. But before you comment, because I know, like I gave you, and it's surprising, I gave you a pause for thought there. But we need to take a short break. We're talking about man up and what it means to be a man, more importantly, by the basic context, and then whether man up means something negative to you or is in a positive way. So we take a short break. This is Manhood. Thank you for staying with us on Manhood. Once again, Johanse, Aaron, and JW. We're talking about what it means to man up and whether there's a negative to it or whether it's a positive. And in our initial discussions, I'm on the fence because I would say it depends how it's delivered. It certainly depends how it's delivered and how it's received will bring you to that feeling or emotion as to whether it's something negative or positive one. But the topic for today is really focusing on the negative aspects of it and how we feel about it. Because when you tell somebody be a man, or what kind of man you is, all of that is in essence man up.
Yeah.
And that in no way could be something that's negative, because what you're saying at that point is you're lacking something in terms of an expression, a behavior, an action that is not showing me in my eyes or in the eyes of my surroundings or societal influences that you are being a man. And those effects can lead to so many other things.
I don't have those eyes intoxicated by the wrong things. Meaning like, you don't bound that person who telling you that don't bound to actually know what a man really supposed to be.
Correct.
So it comes back to what he was saying about knowing how to define yourself, defining what is not define yourself, but what is a man, and make sure you able to fill those shoes, and then you would be understand what you really here to do. You know?
Yeah, but Aaron, if you lose your woman or your wife as a result of that, or they think of you as less of a man,
right,
and then that leads to other things where they go and they cheat on you. Or I remember doing a documentary once, and I went into a certain area, and the women in that area told me if the man don't beat them, they don't love them.
right.
And that was the perception. So if you're seen as not being a man by exhibiting those
for those people who believe that, we now come back to saying,
so you go
if
lose
they
them
believe,
in your life.
And you as a man need to know who you are. Maybe
Exactly.
you lose certain people on the way,
Exactly.
but at the end of the day, they don't give up on who you are. And that's from my perspective. Maybe it's because I'm young and not married, but don't give up on who you are. If you are a man and you're trying your best, you're doing everything you need to do, working from 9 to 5 or whatever, and you lose your woman because of not being able to give her what she wants at the point in time, but you're doing everything to give her what she needs, but you can't give her what she wants, and she leaves for that. She was never yours to begin with.
Correct.
So there's no reason to fight that. I mean,
This man earning a seat, boy.
Aaron, you hit the head, you know why? And I'll tell you, because I remembering, even for me, and I remember I used to get annoyed and angry at first when people trying to tell me and define who I am. And they're not giving advice. I'm not talking about advice. Advice is necessary. But when they're trying to tell you who you are, I'll give you a scenario. I remember I was working in an organization, and the woman went out to the grocery to buy something for the office. And I was inside doing work. And they came inside, and just so in the middle of me doing work, say, well, what kind of man you is? You didn't see the woman and them go for groceries? So I got angry in the moment, because I have no problem helping. But the way it was brought across, what kind of man you is? Right? One, I was doing work. Two, you didn't tell me he was going for the groceries, so I know at 2 o'clock to prepare myself. So then I was like, all right, I say, as a man, I'll go out and do it. But I say, as a woman, I want 3 sandwiches when I finish. The woman in the office started getting on. And I say, this is the same, right? But that's me. That was me reacting. So years later, understanding that I have to understand who I am, no matter what somebody come with. Because I cannot control what people say.
Correct.
I cannot control if people want to control me or try to manipulate me. People have the right to do whatever they want. So whether it is a spouse, a mother, a sister who come in to try to manipulate you or not, I have to know who I am as a man. So if as a man, my philosophy is I helping women with the groceries, then that is my philosophy. If my philosophy is something else, I shouldn't be persuaded or dissuaded by someone else.
So let me ask you, because I'm hearing what you're saying, and it really is giving me trying to get down to the nitty gritty of what is really forming as a view in my head. Are we saying that if a man tells another man to man up based on what is an understanding of being a man, that I wouldn't say it's not cool, but it's within their right. It can't be misogynistic if it's coming from a man to another man to say this is the behaviors that we deem
Not necessarily. Some men don't even know what a man is.
right.
It comes to the same kind of intoxication, you know. What is it's all about what you believe a man is. Everybody have their own reasons.
So are you saying that we should not say man up is what I'm
No, you
at?
could say it,
Yes.
but you as a person need to know who you are and what you believe in. And once you know you are being a true man, again, it comes from back to what you were saying. What is a man? And make sure you are fulfilling those qualities. And then anybody could say what they want. Right now, the entire population of Trinidad is telling me that I will never be a man.
Could I see as a little boy all the time?
Or little boy.
Yeah, I will
Yeah.
never be a man ever. I could be 50. They wouldn't see me as that. They see me as the little boy. I met Marshall in Calypso Monarch 3 weeks ago. He say, Aaron, you will never be a big man in the public eye. I have gray hair and they still call me boy. You know? So, but it's about what you see yourself as. Not because the people saying or telling you so and so. That does not mean you're not a man. You have to know what a man is, and once you fulfill those qualities,
Yeah.
you're a man.
I think it's in context and it's according to who telling you to man up. So sometimes women tell you man up because they see the potential in you that you might not even see at the point in time. A lot of women we could start with your grandmom, your mom, a woman, a wife. They could see you, they see the greatness in you, and sometimes they're just giving you nuggets to help you find yourself too now, because you're sometimes caught up in your life and you might not see the bigger picture.
Right.
I think if a man telling a man up, if the man template and his blueprint is one that you could admire, that you respect, you will take his words, I think, you will take it and hold on to it and try to develop on what you would have mentioned. If it's a man who look like he and all other man up to, he could be telling you that you will take it with a grain of salt. So I think it's all in context. It's according to the circumstance and who telling a man up. But most times when somebody tell it a man up, it's really to tell you to, buck up. To pull up your pants, get it going, step up.
But what if that person don't have the right intentions or mean good for you, and they're just telling you man up for their own selfish gain? What if you have $3,000 in your bank account, or let me say 30,000, and this person, this wife of yours or lady wants this car or whatever, and she's telling you man up and buy me the car. But if you do that, you will now have no money to feed your children, mortgage your house. But she, who you believe in, is telling you man up. You no longer going to know in yourself, I am already being a man, I'm providing, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. But because you want something, means that I am not being a man.
So
what
you
about
said
what you need?
you said that earlier, and I agree with you that the persons or persons in your life, that if you know to yourself that you're doing everything you can to be what at that point you define yourself or define as a man, then those people are the people to be in your life.
Correct.
But what if they're not there to be part of your story or to encourage your story, to help you write a positive end to your story, then even when they exit or you turn another page, you are still left with that void where you what you perceive as a man and you're trying to do, you're not getting there as yet. How are you then in the discussion? How are you then there to deal with where you want, or how do you become that man that you yourself, if I have all of the attributes and the money and everything, and I think, okay, well, it takes A, B, and C to be a man, and I'm fulfilling that. But what about if it's A, B, and C, and I'm only getting to A, B, and I'm not accomplishing C? Within yourself, you don't feel like a man. So when somebody tells you man up, it's an easy target.
I would say, and I like, Aaron, that you started speaking about spirituality, because as a man, and this is, I say in my opinion, because people could disagree, there has to be an aspect of spirituality. For a good period of my life, I didn't have these spiritual aspects of things because of how I grew up, and it had a little trauma with that and being forced into spirituality. So I reject it. But after a while, I found a way back. And I say, have that spiritual backing, because however you view spirituality, I believe that something higher does always talk to us, no matter how you want to define it. Where you could call it intuition, the universe. You know, in Trinidad, we say, well, I had a mind, something tell me X, Y, Z. You know of yourself what you want to do and what feels right. So whether it is you're buying the car for your wife or you're not buying the car, something about it feels right. And when you're along the path of a man, and I think one major aspect is, even though I don't have my doctorate yet, if I'm putting things in place to get my doctorate, I'm reaching there. So I'm not quite there yet. So as a man, like we say, my template is to have a doctorate, have at least $1 million in the bank, have 2 houses, just giving it. But I haven't reached there yet, but I'm putting things in place to do it. But if I'm not putting things in place, you know of yourself where you have the deficit.
Wrong,
so when somebody hits you, man up. First thing you will start to think, wait now, I know wrong, you know.
Yeah.
I know I'm supposed to be studying this, and I know I'm supposed. So when it hits you, because of your own insecurity, now it has nothing to do with the person, eh?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying.
Well, that's
Our
what I'm saying,
own
you're
self,
leaving,
the own insecurity. So that question you're asking, Robert, that I think once you're on the trajectory. So I have an old car, but I don't have no loans. Somebody could be telling me, well, it's better you buy a Benz. But I know the Benz, I had to take a loan for it.
Right.
But as a man, I know the peace of mind I get every month is I don't have to pay, I don't have to pay somebody anything.
Right.
So then I could say I drive my old car. What happened to you, boy? Why she driving that old car? Why you drive? I know me have no loan to pay. But that takes a certain fortitude. And that's where I would say we men have to man up.
And that's what you're saying. There goes back to what you were saying earlier about insecurities when somebody hits you and tell you, be a man. When you know you're doing your best, when somebody tells you be a man, it's not going to hurt you. But when you know you're being lackadaisical, or you have the old car because of you make a mistake in life, or you're not doing what you're supposed to do, so you end up like that.
Right.
That's when it will hit you. But when you know you have your old car or whatever, because you're doing your best and you're making sure you don't end up in shippiness, that shouldn't hurt you.
But guys, and Jay, I want you to talk about this. These things are utopian. In a perfect world,
King, you always come with this utopian
thing. Because when we talk about, because the reality is we all have insecurities.
Yes.
And because we all have insecurities, Johan say, and Aaron, to say that, listen, once you know what it is to be a man, you could be comfortable, and somebody tells you something, you could deflect because you feel comfortable in your skin. But the reality is there's always that piece. When someone says something, they say sticks and stone may break my bones, but words will never harm me, right? Right? That's horse crap, because words offend. And the right person or the wrong person saying the right thing or the wrong thing, depends on how you look at it, to you, right meaning the one that is going to penetrate, is going to have an effect on you. And therefore you yourself may be doing, even though you didn't study, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, a lot of times you already know those things. And how do you then course correct? Or are you in a position to course correct at that point? Or do you know how to course correct or have the desire to?
Sometimes I try to look at it from the angle of, it's not so much what you're called as what you answer to. So really and truly, to me, outside of, I know we talk a lot about material things, I think that don't even cross my mind when I consider what being a man is about. I think being a man is being able to be comfortable in your skin, being able to have self-control, and being able to know that you could deal with the consequence of your action. If you make a hard-line decision to say, you know what, this lady here trying to really push my hand, extend my pocket beyond my reality at this point in time, and she want to go take an next man or leave, hey, so be it. You just let it be.
But is our reality, Jay? Is our reality? Do we really, as men? Why do then men beat women as a result of getting horn? Why do men, women chain man up in a party when they say, "Hey, be a man"?
Because they're not being men.
Well, and this is what I'm saying. But the reality is that in some way, shape, or form, as much as you might come here and say, "I am a man" in that instance, and you will just say, well, let me leave the woman, there might be another instance or another part of your life that you are not going to take that.
You must have taken control.
You're not going to man up.
Because when you take chain up easy, to me, that is when people can get on their skin. Now, in a scenario, like you brought one that is real. Somebody, you with your woman in a party, a man disrespect her, touch her, and she decides, hey, what you gonna do about that? The fact is, I do think women understand that when men confront each other, the likelihood of violence and the likelihood of someone being either extremely injured or death is a possibility with certain confrontation. So some men, to avoid all that, they just take the loss
Pat down.
and they say, babes, let's go. And you have to be a man and be comfortable and be sure in that particular decision. Unless somebody come physically with an assault, well, you have no choice. But in a scenario like that, you have a decision to make. And a lot of times, if somebody tell you man up, or yeah, man up because of a scenario like that, because you're trying to avoid the bigger picture, I really don't know what to say. I think, you know, being able to control your emotion, especially when things volatile, when it hit the fan, that is a major hallmark to me of being a man.
You have a choice throughout it all, even if it becomes physical or to walk away too. I mean, it gets harder at that point in time, but to walk away is your choice still. Because I could tell you from being a person who's a victim of bullying, that walking away was one of the best things that I ever did too. Because yes, again, it comes from knowing yourself. Now, if I did retaliate, at that point in time, it was like a peak moment for Aaron Duncan, where people now start to know Aaron in that light. And let's say, like, for some reason, I retaliate into that, and all over the news, Aaron Duncan was in a big fight. And bam, 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 bam. That can now tarnish your career and your... Yeah. So I walked away, you know? So you have a choice throughout everything. Just at the point in time, wherever your mind is at, that is in your control. But it comes back to what you're saying with self-control and stuff like that. Nobody should ever be able to influence you to do something that you don't want to do. But at the end of the day, besides being a man or a woman or whatever, we are all at the end of the day humans, and no human is perfect. We will all make mistakes. It starts from Adam and Eve, you know? Eve...
Adam didn't man up.
Yeah.
Because here we see, he said, is the woman.
Yeah.
And that's an important thing. And I come back, Jay is saying,
Before you come back, we need to take a break. So you could take that thought, look at the camera, and you could take that thought and go to the break with it.
The thought is that each man have to be comfortable in his own skin. Forget the material things, right? And then I go in here on what he's saying about having a choice. And I heard a quote that says, and this was especially for men, you don't have to be right, but you have to be sure.
Yeah.
So whatever decision you're making, because we could look at the right and wrong for any decision you make.
Correct.
But you have to be sure about it, and sure meaning be able to face the consequences of your action. I wouldn't take consequences, face the reaction. Reaction.
The repercussions of it.
The reaction or the repercussions of it. And that's what I think is, when you say man up, being a man is facing the consequences of your actions or your choices.
Yeah.
Want to take any break?
And thank you very much for tuning in thus far as we head to the break.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Manhood. This is a few men talking to all men. We're not speaking on behalf of all men, but we are a few. And we're talking about this term, man up. And exactly what does it mean for us when it is said in certain situations, depend who it is said by. And I want to say that in my walk, in my journey with man up, it's not an easy thing. Because there are many times I feel my own insecurities, whether somebody tells me man up or not. When I look and I see things that I desire, right? And this is not necessarily envy or jealousy, it's just things I want. I look at myself and say, am I doing the best I can do? Right? And then if the answer is no, then I would feel a particular way. And sometimes, depending on the feeling, I would have to tell myself man up. Because if I start to feel sad, what's the point of feeling sad? What does sadness really do? I'm not suppressing it. I acknowledge that I'm sad. So I'm adding, that's me with myself. Now, when we go with somebody telling me, so if my wife, my mom, even a brethren tell me man up or something that means man up, I now have to check myself. And sometimes it is hurt. But you see, it's hurt is not that they hurt me. is that I choose, and this is my premise always, that nobody can't make you feel a certain way. As men, we have control of our feelings. It's how we perceive people comments. We choose how to feel. So somebody can't offend you. You choose to be offended. But why offended? Because maybe you know that you're not doing all you can do. And that's sometimes with me. Sometimes I get hurt, and I can tell you sometimes my wife tell me something. I'm like, what she tell me that for? Right?
But there's some semblance of truth.
But the truth is, I could be doing better, and I know I could be doing
Correct.
better. And I've seen that because all of us men, we won't be stone and stoic all the time. And even if me stone and stoic, but if we could acknowledge that quote unquote negative emotion of sadness, offense, wherever it is, and then transmute it and turn it into something. You know, in Chile, we have the term bad mind. Right? Be bad-minded. So somebody tell me, hey boy, what kind of man you gonna make? And they keep telling me that you could use that fuel. Now you say, you know what? I using that fuel to get what I want. And not necessarily to stick it to that person, but at least I can be proud and say, okay, I comfortable in the man I am.
Yeah. I think part of being a man, when I really analyze the conversation today, is to more or less be premeditated, you know. To, in my mind, have an understanding as to what your course of action is, especially if you're going to make a drastic move in life. You have to plan that out and map that out in your head and make a decision and then go, as opposed to being reactive. You know, think about it deep, because in the scenario, like, as we mentioned, you know, you're called to act on something, you're called to the front line. If you're going to engage this particular person of threat as a man, if somebody tell you man up in a scenario, you have to play that through in your mind, you know. You have to play that through. You have to understand how far this could go and if you're willing to deal with the consequence and the circumstance of where you're about to take this. That's why sometimes some people might walk away. They might say you're not manning up, but you understand that.
Is it worth
it? Being a man, sometimes you have to protect your interests, protect all what you built so far, protect your family. It's sometimes better to take the L and keep it pushing. Or if you decide to engage, you decide you're going all out.
Correct.
Whether it's court, whether it's death, you're going.
Yeah, and then
And you talk about love. You talk about the connection to love.
Yeah. I said that sometimes love could weaken a man. You know? Sometimes when, I think part of the main factor of what we were talking about, when your wife or somebody tells you, be a man and buy this for me or do this for me, defend me, you know? Some things that we does, that's coming in our mind is, well, if you don't do this, you might lose your woman. And you would obviously love this person to the point where you don't want to lose her, and then it causes you to do some certain things. However, that weakens a man, according to if you're doing something that you're not supposed to do just to keep somebody, and that has been the problem with certain things.
But even if it weakens you,
Yeah.
it doesn't take away the fact that it's a reality. You know, it doesn't take away the fact that, as you were talking about, Johan, say that those are feelings that you yourself are aware of. And you mightn't always like the message, but you must heed what is being said. And so you get that from your wife. Your
consider,
wife,
not necessarily heed. Heed means do it.
Well,
right? You consider what is being said. You don't have to heed it.
you don't always have to heed it, but you may want to heed certain things in that message. So if you know to yourself it's certain things that you are aware of, your own insecurities, then you should heed the message. Because you already know that is where you want to be. Now, if you don't want to be, quote unquote, a man, and what we define as men is what I'd like us to sort of close off with in our own thinking of what that basic understanding of a man is. Because when we say man up, a man, your understanding might be different from mine, but we must have a basic understanding. And we've spoken about it several times on several conversations on manhood as to what that definition is. That definition of leader, is that definition someone who has a good moral compass? Is that definition, you know, someone who's strong and takes care of his family? What is that we can close off or summarize with that makes a man? So when we say man up, we can line it up side by side and make an assessment. Are we ticking off these things as we go along? So I would like to say that just you know, that and I want to put this to you guys. You're in a situation where there's a fire or gunshots go off, and you decide your survival instincts, you want to live with their women and children running, right? Do you run and save them? Or run and save one or two there may be other men around. What is that if you go into that survival instinct? You may want to get home to protect your own family or to be there for your family. But in society, what will then happen? If paint that picture, and I'm only using that as a scenario because I would like to think that if there's a scenario like that, your human instinct would kick in to protect and save.
But boy, stuck and roll, boy. It's not protect and save.
Your family home.
Yeah, people will
And
self-preservation.
you're in a situation where there's other people and there's a fire and whatever, and your family home, and you want to protect other people.
Well, I mean, if it possible, I mean, listen, again, it's all in context, right? If on your way out you really could grab somebody where you could,
If
but
it could happen.
adrenaline,
Yeah.
I guess self-preservation. A lot of times people. I see emergency man run and leave the wife and thing,
That's what I'm saying, Jay.
That man run and leave the wife. Go on. Bap.
And in some situations,
Now, when the dust clear, they might say, how the man move so?
and in some
What kind of man you is, boy?
I want to be the person, and maybe I might get bashed, but in some situations, you may have to do that such thing. It may come up to where you have to do that. Because life is important. When we were born, we weren't born with a wife or any of these things. We were born by ourselves and have to live our own destiny. So in that time, maybe to preserve your life, you had to do certain things. That's just how I see it,
Yeah, I mean, those are scenarios again.
Yeah, scenarios where you could save somebody, but I don't think we don't have superheroes in the real world. It's on movies, So as a man, you're not brought here to be a superhero to save everybody in the world. So,
But that pressure you're on,
One
pressure, Jay, that pressure Johan say of just that scenario, because if in that light you are there's video, in the advent of social media now, and someone shows that, the question by the public will be, what kind of man you is, boy?
so you're being peer pressure then.
But a lot of the context of being a man is under that same peer pressure. Hence the term man up.
So that mean, and what you're raising there is a real important thing, and this real impacting me because as a man, me personally, I don't want to be under anybody control,
Yeah.
I am able to make my decisions even if real people don't like it.
Like it.
And that is the only way we'll be free.
Correct.
And if I choose to put myself in danger because I'm afraid of what people
Yeah.
of what people think, then that is not a man.
That is not a man. You're weakening yourself already.
That is not a man at all. And when I say it will be easy, because in this day and age, you might consider it. But the truth is that freedom that we really want as men, forget whether you have a family or not. First thing, as an individual, you want to be able to relate to the world and embrace the world in the way you want to. And if we are afraid, because I feel like that is the freaking problem now. We men so afraid of what somebody might think.
Correct.
But
We
not
are
just
afraid.
not just what they might think, Jay, but sometimes you just take out what they may think and just say men are afraid. Men are afraid if gunshots going off or in a situation of a fight.
Yeah.
Right? Now, I was brought up in an environment, I had to do karate, I had to do kickboxing, all these different things. So I could handle my stories. Right? So I might be one that is not in that position, but I had a friend and I saw, back in the day, we go and party, but then it was bottle and things like that, right? It was actual fisticuffs. And I literally saw him shake like a leaf behind me because he didn't know how to approach the situation. He wasn't a fighter. Nothing was wrong with that. You're not born to generally
that don't make him less of a man.
But again, and this is what I'm saying. But
But
the pressure.
it depends on it. It depends what your friend defines as a man. Because if he defines himself as a man, as somebody who don't want to fight, then it's fine, right? Because by his frame. But if in himself, he you know what, I really, long time now, I should have gone to a karate class. I should have wherever it is. But I've been procrastinating or wherever it is, right? Or whatever reason, he not
But you
being
just
his
want to
full
get
potential.
hit. You don't want to get hit. You don't want to be in a situation of potential, as you said at the start,
And it's to
of
be
death
honest,
or extreme violence.
It's to be honest about that. Because we asked about the scenario, about what you would do in certain situations. You see a man run. What I've learned after speaking with men in those situations, even being in situations like that myself, we cannot escape or we cannot pretend who we really are, We could put a facade out about who we think we are as men, but deep down, we know who we are as men. So when there's a scenario where you can't think, you have no instances to think, the truth of you as a man comes out. So if we go in man up now, right? And this may be my summary. I feel like a summary coming here.
Not maybe, this will be your
right,
summary.
Right. Thanks for the correction. My summary is that term man up. One, ladies, gentlemen, brothers, anybody around you, when you're using that term, be mindful too of how you use it. Because if you're using it as a dagger or a cut, trying to cut somebody down, right? That could never be healthy. So be mindful of it. That's one. I'm putting that disclaimer out. Then now we come in as men. As men, people could say whatever they want. We cannot control what people think. So it's our responsibility, I would say, to man up, our responsibility to decide what kind of man we want to be. And then stick to that. Not to say that you may not take advice and you may improve yourself. But decide who you are, because we live in a society where people will use words, try to manipulate you. Not even directly, social media trying to tell you what it is to be a man. This one, that one. So as a man, one, be sure of yourself. You mightn't be there yet, because I'm not completely there yet either. But I have an idea and put the work towards it. So when the pressure comes, I am able to, even though I mightn't be right, at least I'm sure of what I'm going to do and face the consequences, repercussions, or reaction to my choice.
Yeah, powerful. I think, manning up, it's something that you could even have that conversation with yourself, and have that particular template. That's why it's important to have sometimes mentors or certain mentor, whether it be a grandfather, father, uncle, somebody who would have set a tone, and you look at them as a kind of benchmark. Now, you're not trying to be like them, but you look at their success. And that's why it's important to know sometimes family history, to do research on people that you admire. And you just try to use that particular example. At least that works for me so far. And I think it's about being premeditated, being in control of your emotion, and being in control of your thoughts in this space, especially when things get a little tough, when it hit the fan. That is when you have to be the coolest. You have to be the coolest man in the room. That's what manning up mean to me. Despite all the chaos of the world and the darkness, you still have to be that light. And to me, that's what that whole concept of manning up. And I don't think it's something bad. It's just the context.
Okay.
Aaron?
I think my answer would be a summary of what these both men said. It's about keeping you cool. It's about knowing who you are and what you're supposed to do in this life now. A blind man could be more of a man than the person who could see. A disabled man could be more of a man than the person who has everything. Because it's all about what you, as a man, is supposed to contribute to this life. And knowing what a man is and knowing who you are is more important, will make you more of a man than the person who is just a male and don't know what is his purpose in life.
Yeah, purpose important.
Yeah.
That purpose, and I think I will have to summarize your summary of their summary. Because you've all gentlemen said it very powerfully. There's not really a lot more to say, but to probably just reiterate of a lot of what was said here about being cool, about that understanding of what it takes to be a man. And when I say what it takes in terms of being a man in this world is not we talk about equality and so on, but the innate pressures to be a man and to live that we know of.
That's why we need each other.
Which is why we need each other. We need each other to be better as brothers.
Of course.
And not to tear down, but to understand.
Accepting
so when
responsibility.
We use accepting responsibility.
Taking ownership of repercussions. You're being able to, just, if you know that certain choices you make might have a particular direction and you just deal with it.
Yeah.
You gotta be able to make up your mind.
And that, Jay, is the importance of shows like this. That we must band together as brothers and be better as brothers and not aim to tear down.
No.
And so when we use words like man up, and just to address the word, when we talk about misogyny, it's really a phrase, something that starts off with another man telling another man to man up based on what the perception is or their thoughts are on what a man is. So what we need to do in being there for our brothers is to really say, step up. step up based on an understanding of being a man. What we want to, whether it be context of, which would be the basics of leadership, the basics of a good moral compass, the basics of being a good person and being a representation of a man, of a human, and being there with those innate values, which is to protect, which is to hunt.
Right. Yeah.
All of these different things that come to the understanding of when we say man up, not in a negative way, but things that we ourselves would know. And I think it really comes down to more that man up is that inflection.
Yeah. Within.
That's what it really comes down to.
Yeah.
Are we at the standard that we want to be, or that we know? Because we always know right and wrong.
Yeah, we know.
always know the better choice to make. And it's about being that. It's to be
Have the courage to be yourself.
And
Have the courage to be yourself.
Sometimes it's not about where we want to be, but where we need to be. You know, sometimes you may want a fancy life, fancy car, fancy whatever, but you're not looking at what you need. And what we really need in this life, sometimes we already have it, and we're not appreciative of what we need and what we already have. We woke up this morning, health and strength, all our body intact. You know, we have everything that we might have everything that we need already, and
But we want
thinking
more.
about what we want,
Yeah.
and making ourselves feel less of a man because of what we want.
Making
But
ourselves feel
less
like
of
we
a man,
fault,
you know. But sometimes it's about what you need and not what
we
you
doing
want.
it ourselves.
You know.
And they have no better way to close but to understand we're doing it to ourselves. We are our own worst enemy.
Yeah.
So you're already a man. That much biology has shown us.
Yeah.
You know, be that man and stay up.
Yeah.
So I'd like to thank Johanse, Aaron, Jay. Always a pleasure.
Always.
This is Manhood. Please continue to tune in. And, you know, hopefully we've shared some insight to
Not
making...
hopefully we share insight.
We share insight. And hopefully you've made yourself want to be a better person going forward.
Thank you very much. Well done, Jim.
Manhood, brought to you in part by Reboot Sports Drink.